This will be quick.
Hey everybody, we were just discussing how we're going to get to your questions really quick because there's not a ton of them. So we're going to dive deep into those. If you guys are watching live and you got questions, pop them up there. This is episode 563, Hump Day Hangouts. We are here to answer your local SEO questions, talking about agencies, freelancing, building your business, and getting things done. So with that said, we got a couple of quick announcements. We want to get you guys up to speed and want to take a minute, say hello to the guys, and then we will be jumping into questions and going from the pre-asked questions, which if you're not familiar with that, you can always go to semanticmastery.com/HDHO. That's for Hump Day Hangouts. And you can ask your question ahead of time. That way, if you can't make it live, we'll be sad, but your question will get answered and you can come and check it out on the replay. So with that said, Chris, how you doing today?
Doing good. I don't know, autumn, I guess, is here already in September. It's raining like crazy outside, but that's good because that means I have more time to cook in the lab, work on things, and yeah, it's almost like a construction area here, like virtually.
Nice, man. Yeah, I've never had this many tabs open once I got back from vacation and then jumping in with you guys and doing some of the work we're doing behind the scenes. My computer is literally running slower. So I got to do do some work. But yeah, I'll agree about the about autumn. It's been really nice. I got back from travel and went out for a run and wasn't feeling that great, but I was like, man, I'm moving really fast. I looked down at my watch and it's like, oh, right, it helps that it's not blazing hot and super
Yeah,
humid anymore.
yeah, no
So.
kidding.
So speaking of weather, Bradley, how you doing, man?
Good. And also it's been beautiful here for like over a week now, like a week and a half. And I mean just absolutely beautiful. So after such a hot summer, it's really nice to have the weather nice and unfortunately I'm stuck in here working all day because I'd love to be outside, but I try to do that in the evenings. But yeah, no, things are good. I've been like balls deep in a doing a building an automation in high level using to for voice AI agents, and that's quite an undertaking. Especially I'm not real familiar. I mean, I built a lot of automations in high level, but it's been just very tedious. I've spent a little over a week now working on getting various kind of voice AI stuff set up in high level. It's a real pain in the ass, but probably need about another half a day to get it done, I hope. But yeah, we'll be talking more about that probably next week a little bit. So
Nice. Well, I've got a couple of things I wanted to mention. There's two really important things I think that you should know about as you're watching this. But if you're not familiar with semantic mastery, or if you've been following us and you haven't heard of these, two things I want to make you aware of is the local mastery newsletter. This is where every week you can get 5 to 7 actionable local SEO insights from Bradley's webinars. And there's action items that come out of each of these. So this is, like I said, presented in a newsletter. So you can read this in 20-ish to 30-ish minutes. And if, there's no way you're going to be putting 5 to 7 things to work per week unless you have a big team. If you do, that's great. Go for it. But pick one of those, put it to work, and then you can come back the next week. And there's a lot in there to help you grow, get things done, delegate, SEO tactics to business growth, whatever you need is in there. So that's localmastery.semanticmastery.com. And last but not least, the local ops SEO blueprint. So this is the systematized approach to local SEO success. You can find out more about that at localops.semanticmastery.com. That was recently released in August and had really good feedback on that so far. I believe we just got some back today that I am going to horribly butcher, so it's not a quote, bear with me, but it was basically that they were getting results in 1 week based on following the processes inside of that. And that is based off of Bradley's own SOPs. And he's put that into local ops for you in a way that will help you get better results faster. So nothing to lose there. Localops.semanticmastery.com. Cool, guys. That's it on my end. Anything else we need to cover before we jump into it?
no, not at the
Yeah,
moment. Like I said, go ahead, Chris. Did you say
you
something?
gotta hit the like and subscribe button on the
Yeah,
YouTube video.
Oh yeah, I
can't
don't think
forget
we say
that.
that
What's wrong
enough.
with
We
me?
really don't.
Gives instantly more SEO gains.
Yeah, there we go. Little known secret.
Yeah. All right, well, let's jump into it. We don't have much, so we'll roll through this fairly quickly. Anybody attending, if you guys have comments or questions that you want to post in the chat, feel free to do so. We can cover it. Otherwise, we'll wrap up early, which is fine because I've been working on this AI development, hey, voice AI development in high level, and I hate switching gears right in the middle of something like that. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, let me grab the screen. In fact, I don't even think I need to grab the screen. Really don't. We've got a YouTube comment question that came in. And then we had one more. Actually, no, it's just that one. So that's what we're going to just talk about. Permanent fix for Google Maps image links. What is the purpose benefit of using that image versus uploading it directly to your WordPress or whatever CMS? So that is using a hot linked image. Part of the reason that we use a hot linked, which is basically an embedded image, an embedded image, because you actually pass some authority from what it's embedded in to the site that is the container. Because remember, an embed or an iframe is nothing other than just a container that you can basically place a website within another page, right? You can or a page. You can place a page within another page. That's what the iframe is or an embed is. And so same thing with a hosted image or an embedded image, excuse me. It's basically taking the image from another site that's hosted elsewhere and then embedding it to where it displays on whatever page it is you're embedding it into. And so it's a way to kind of siphon some authority from the page that you're linking, because I talked about this last week, I think it was, but an iframe acts almost like a bidirectional do follow link in that it can pass link equity both ways, both to and from the page that it's embedded in, if that's clear. So you can, the page that the embed is placed within can receive some benefit from the site that has been embedded or the page that was embedded. That's part of the reason why we would add like YouTube videos to pages and things like that, right? Because we can pull some authority from YouTube to the overall page that is, used as the container for that embed, if that's clear. And then vice versa. Same, whatever you're embedding can also kind of pull some link equity or authority from that page too, from the page that it's embedded within, if that's clear. So it's almost like a bidirectional do follow link. It acts similarly. It's not the same, but it acts similarly. And so using a hot linked image or an embedded image is a way to especially when it's like why I used Google hosted images were because they were coming from the Google business profile of whatever the entity, like for example, location entity, because that's typically what you're talking about. And the question is using images from a particular city or town, census designated place, whatever. Okay, so let me see if I can just demonstrate this. I think it'll make a little bit more sense. Grab the screen. Unfortunately, Google has changed something recently, probably because they caught on to that after many years of us, of doing that. And something they changed recently to kind of stop hot linking or embedding Google images. So let's see, I'm in Pikeville, Kentucky. Okay, so let's just use that as an example as a location. All right, so we're going to go to Maps. And whatever image is here, we'll use. But if we just open image a new open image a new tab, this is the image URL. Now, again, Google recently had changed some stuff. And so we can't really host these images anymore or extract them as hosted images. We can still do it, but the problem is when you see in the URL, and I'll demonstrate this in just a minute, but if you see in the URL that it has this /GPS/CS/S or some sort of a /GPS type of a like folder or level in the URL structure like that, that means it's not going to be embeddable. And even if it is, then it's like on a CDN, so that the URL is going to change, and so the embed will break, even if it is embeddable right now. And we can test this right now, right? We can copy that image URL and go over to let's just see. I don't know if it's going to work with a regular iframe. Let me do this. Pull something up real quick. Builder. I'm just curious if it'll show up or not. I'm building a website builder with bolt.ai. This will show, yeah. So see that image right now? This is just a preview for a hosted image. And see how that image is coming through. It's truncated here. It's like you don't see the whole image, but the whole image is embedded there. So that URL works, right? So again, that was just right clicking on the image from Google Maps, excuse me, and then clicking open image in a new tab, or copy image address or copy image location, whatever. Any one of those would work. But it has to be a specific format of the URL or it won't work. Let me give you another example. Okay, so like if we were to go just look at photos here for Pikeville, and let's just pick this one. Okay, if we were to copy that URL and put this, actually, that should be all right. Yeah, okay. I'm going to open up a notepad file and we'll paste that in. And what you can do here is you can see usually there is or there used to be, and this is what has changed recently. There used to always be in this long URL. You can't embed this one. You see how this has got the google.com/maps? So that's this image here. That's not the same as just the image file. So like if we were to take this image back over to this kind of website builder thing, this image URL here that I just copied, which is the full map URL, and that's not just the image file URL. That's that image as it is hosted on Google Maps, etc. So you'll see, excuse me, that doesn't see that image doesn't work there. That's not an embeddable image. When you do the right click from this and then it's open image address or copy image address, that gives you a URL format like this. Okay. And that is a embeddable image. But like I said, when you see this right there, that GPS, like /GPS something or another, and then it goes into the like image ID and all that. And by the way, this is the dimensions, width and height. But as soon as you see that, that means that this image might be embeddable now, but it's not going to stay embeddable because it updates and it will change. Again, I believe that is an indication that it's on a CDN or something like that, and it will. The URL is dynamic; it changes eventually, and when it does, it'll break. The embed will break. So in the SOP that I've shared for this, let me just see if I can pull that up just to kind of demonstrate this. Google hosted images. There used to be a standard format that we could always use to extract the embeddable image type, or the image ID essentially from that long map URL that is not embeddable, right? We used to be able to identify a particular image identifier within that string, that URL string, that we could pull out and just append that image ID to a standard protocol like in URL prefix type, and I'm going to demonstrate that here in just a minute. So if we look at, let's go to LOG sites. Sorry, back into the right folder. Let's try one more time. What is the right? I can't even remember which one it is. It's been so long since I've been. Oh, I know what it is. It's an on page. There we go. All right. So we're going to go in here and I'll show you right here where it says Google hosted images. This is the format that I'm talking about. So you used to be able to take this long URL here, the Google Map URL, and it used to always have this AF1 or whatever. It used to always start with AF1. Like, and you could extract this long URL and you could always find that starting point, which was, it would say AF1 and then, whatever after that. And you could extract that specific image ID out of there. And then you would just add it to this URL prefix right here, right? And then that from there, it would work every time, right? So as a matter of fact, we can look to see if this is still valid. This was created probably 2 years ago, but it's probably still valid if the URL is still good. It is. You see, so that's still valid. But now, and we've tried this. I've tried playing around with trying to extract the appropriate photo ID from this where the AF1 doesn't appear, and I've not been able to figure it out. I spent probably 30 minutes on it playing around with pulling different strings out from that URL and trying them, and I couldn't get any of them to work. So I think Google changed something recently to where the older URLs that are out on the web, like this one that I just showed you, will still work, but the newer ones, you can't do that anymore. But the whole point of it is because you basically, there was two reasons for doing that. Number one, as I already mentioned, you kind of siphon authority from the hosted image, right? Wherever the image is hosted, in this case, Google. So that was part of the reason we did it. But then also because that is a Google image, like an image uploaded to the Google business profile for a location entity, right? And typically I would recommend that you would use the primary photo that's at the top. Because if you click on that photo, let's see if we can go to it here. It says right there, but then also Google knows that that image has been uploaded to that or is part of that location entity, the Google business profile for that location. You understand? And so because of that, and remember, this isn't like a business. This is not a Google business profile. This is just a Google Maps listing for Pikeville, right? So this is like a location entity. And so part of the reason we would use those images is to siphon authority from Google, but also because it's recognizable by Google as an image of that location entity. That was the whole point. However, more recently, in just the past 2 weeks, I really started testing with omitting any of those what I call georelevance data points from site builds. So you can see that's what I was calling right here under the this heading on my LLG site or local lead generation site SOP. That's called georelevance, and that is extracting those types of information from Google Maps, like things to do, top sites, the location images, all of that, and using all of that data in the builds. But it's been several months now where I've wanted to go in and start testing, omitting the proper, you having still the proper site structure, but omitting any of those georelevance data points, because that is one of the things that slows down the build process significantly is going and collecting all of that georelevance data, especially when you're looking at low competition areas, which is what I teach to target low competition areas, because it makes your job a hell of a lot easier to get results for clients. Why make it hard on yourself, right? And so, you know, part of the process or part of the problem, I should say, when trying to extract like georelevance data points from lower competition areas is a lot of the times there's not a lot of georelevance data available. And so it's very tedious at times to try to extract like top sites and things to do in neighborhoods and even hosted images for that matter in some cases. It's very difficult. And so that slows the build process down considerably. And when I first started testing that particular type of a site structure and I started developing it and testing, et cetera, it absolutely made a difference whether or not we had those georelevance data points on the page or not. But it's been 2 years since I really developed that template and that kind of site structure, and I have not tested since then with removing it. And I've had that question come up a few times. People say, well, how much of impact does that have? And I've been clear about it. I said, well, it did at the time that I developed that template. It was critically important. I mean, it made a huge difference at the time, but it's so much has changed in 2 years. It needs to be tested without it. And I've encouraged, members of our mastermind, et cetera, hey, test it without it. Report back. Let me know. Well, a lot of people don't ever report back. So I just recently started testing. In fact, I'm building a site builder, which is what I just started showing a moment ago. And very quickly, I can kind of demonstrate this. Let's see if I can refresh this. Yeah. Okay. So this was as of yesterday. I should have refreshed this. Anyway, this is a brand new site. Let me grab the screen again. This is a brand new site that I just upload or kind of deployed as a test using a site builder that I'm kind of playing with and trying to develop a specific site builder with a particular template and internal linking structure and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm playing around with that right now. But this is a new site that I just deployed as a test, one with no images whatsoever. There's a lot of missing data in this site, but it was just to test the format of the site using a particular site builder, right? It's an AI site builder that I'm using. So I'm prompting it to build the site. And my very first test was this site right here. And this was last week. And I published this site and it has no images. There's no georelevance data points at all. And this is a low competition area, but that is what I tell people to, that's what I teach is to target low competition areas. And this one is ranking very well, like very quickly with no addition. Like I didn't build any links to it. I did put it on one of my subdomain of one of my, my Felling Pro domain that I've been building sites on for a couple of years, I guess. So it did inherit some domain backlink authority from the overall domain, but I didn't build any direct links to it. And it's not even a pretty site because, like I said, well, it's because it's missing images and everything else. And I just did this as a test when I started playing with this site builder. And then I'll demonstrate this in a minute. I built with that same site builder a site builder for this particular type of a template. So there's a tree contractor that reached out to me to get listed in the directory. He's in Virginia, Fairfield, Virginia, which is an area I drive through every time I go visit my family in Virginia. And so I'm familiar with the area, and he reached out and I got him listed in the directory, and we had our listing delivery call, which is the start of the sales conversation. And we've had some really good communication, and he's got really good maps ranking, but his organic ranking is not very good, and his site looks like shit. It looks like he built it himself, like on a GoDaddy site builder. It's just awful. And so that was one of the things that I pitched to him was like, hey, if you had a better looking site, you'd perform better in organic search. It would perform actually even better in maps, and it would convert more visitors into leads, et cetera, because it's just a better looking site. And so when I started playing with the site builder, I just built this site is just on a felling.pro domain. Rockbridge County, Virginia is where they're located, but as the service area, I mean. And so I built this with, it's got the internal linking and everything else, but there were no images in this one. And I built this with, and this is an HTML site. And so it loads significantly faster than high level sites do, like significantly faster. And so so I started building this as just kind of a test with the same type of a structure that I had been, kind of building out in my LLG sites that are high level sites. But it only took me about 25 minutes to build this site. Again, there's no images or anything else, but it only took about 25 minutes. Whereas if I do an LLG site in high level, if I do it myself, it takes me roughly 3 hours to do that. And that includes collecting georelevance data and all of that. I've trained 2 VAs to build LLG sites as part of my team, and it takes them roughly 4 hours per site to build. I did this one again. There's no georelevance data collected for this. And that's what I'm testing because you can see that this one is performing very well. It is a low competition area. I'm not trying to, say that it's not. It is a low competition area, but it's ranking very well with no backlinks. And it's only been published for like 8 days now. No kidding. And so, I mean, like not even 8 days. September 4th is when I actually put this into the rank tracker, which was, I think, the day after I published it. So that would have been 7 days ago, right? So a week ago today is when I built this site. And we've got a lot of page one rankings already. And so that's why I've been playing around with building this, which is a site builder on that app, the app that I was using to build this this first version of the site. But this one, you see, I've got a lot more detail, right? Which is for images. I can have up to 8 locations, by the way. I can modify this to have it, create a template with 10 locations or 12 or whatever it is that I want. Different services now. The social media integrations, color schemes, which you can change these. I used earth tones because it's tree service stuff, all of that. And then once I complete this form, I hit generate website data and it creates a JSON file that then I go back to the website builder, upload that JSON file, and it will build that site with the structure that I've defined within this site builder form here, if that's clear. And then I started doing this yesterday. I spent about 2 hours on this yesterday. I built this kind of site builder thing very quickly. That took about 2 hours as well. But I spent about, not 2 hours, about an hour and a half yesterday working on deploying a site for this. In fact, let me just pause it and I'll pull that up just to kind of demonstrate that really quick. What's up, Craig? I see you in chat. This is interesting too, because I haven't hosted this one yet, but I've got a site here that I just started building yesterday. Okay, sorry, I was looking at something. I know you guys aren't seeing my screen. Just give me 1 minute. All right, so this one I'm building, one of my tree contractor clients just upgraded his subscription with me to the next level up so that he can expand his service area. He wants to go broader than what his current service area is. So I'm using this site builder now to build using this same thing that I'm showing you here, which was this kind of website builder app that I created using an AI website builder. So I basically went in and I said, look, I want you to recreate this site template. I'm going to give you an example. It is going to recreate it, but for a different company with different locations. And then I provided the company information and the locations. And it went out and it created this first site here that I was showing you here. And then it hit me that night. I was like, well, if it could build me a site by just giving it an example site and saying, model this one, but with this information. And then I had to prompt it several times after it built the first version of it to get it correct. Like I had to go back and have it include internal links. I had to go back and update each one of the pages to have its own dedicated and unique SEO title. I had to do all this kind of stuff, right? But it only took me about 25 minutes to build this site. No kidding. And so that night it hit me and I was like, well, son of a bitch, if that can build the site by just having a chat and telling it what to do, then I could probably have it build me a site builder. Right. And that's what I did. I said, okay, look, can you build me a site with a site builder form so that I can just complete the form, and then you can build the site based upon the form inputs. And it said, yeah, like basically told me to do it. So I did, and it created this for me. And then I went through and I started prompting it to add things like your fields for hosted images. We're still using hosted images, but I host them on Amazon S3. We're not really using Google Images for this. And so anyway, long story short, it took me about 2 hours to build the site builder app, and then yesterday this form here that we're looking at. And then yesterday I went in to play with it because one of my box tree care upgraded from the low competition, which allowed 5 service area locations, to the high competition, which allows 8 service area locations. And so he just wanted to add 3 additional locations. So we just upgraded his subscription like 2 days ago. And so I said, well, that's fine. I'm gonna have to redeploy your site. And I told him that I was working on a new site builder that will probably change the layout a little bit of the site, but that I want to use this one because what I want to do is I want to test it now without having. See, this is not hosted on a domain on his domain yet. This is just a test because, like I said, I'm not done with this yet. But I built this site with you by just completing this form yesterday, this one right here, which took me, about maybe 10, 15 minutes to complete this form because I have pretty much all that data already saved in an Excel file. Okay. So I just basically copied and pasted into this form, and it built the first version of this site. This is bolt.new is the website builder. Okay. And then you can see if I scroll back up here in the chat, like all I did was upload that JSON LD or JSON file or whatever that was output from submitting that form. There's the JSON file right there, right? And then it says, can you build a site from that file? And he said, yep. And there it goes. It started and it gives me the first version of it. And then I had to come in and prompt it a little bit to create a separate page for each service area location, blah, because everything was done as like one page. It was weird. So, like I said, I'm playing with this a little bit more. I've still got more testing to do and kind of fine tuning, et cetera. But it's a really good start because I spent less than like probably an hour and a half with a new site builder, and I got this site with the proper structure in place. I still got to, again, modify some of the images that are blurry because they were smaller on the LLG site, and they are hosted images, meaning I've hosted them in Amazon S3. So there was a defined size, which was the size. It's the way you make images load quicker, right? You narrow this, decrease the size of the image to whatever is how it's going, the largest that it will display on the site. That keeps the file smaller. So we've got a lot in the LLG sites in high level. They were all very small files, very small, like images. So in here, they're a little bit bigger. And so that's kind of pixelated because it just stretched them. I'd have to go back and create a whole new set of images and upload them in Amazon S3. And I will eventually over the next couple of days because I told them I'd have this site done in about a week. And we had our call on, I guess, Monday, so 2 days ago. So I still got a few days to finish this. But my goal is to take this site builder, once I get it finished with the prompts and everything else, to a fully finished site build. And then that way I can deploy a site now in significantly less time. I mentioned earlier that it takes me 3 hours to do an LLG site in high level, and that's including collecting all the georelevance data. Once this site builder is done, it'll take less than 30 minutes to build a site. And so that's why I love this type of a process because, and part of the reason we did the LLG sites was to target low competition areas and deploy sites quickly and easily so that we could get them to rank like this and then use that as a sales tool, right? When we pitch contractors or companies in that area, we can point to this and say, look, we built a site 2 weeks ago that's already outranking your site. We can do this for you, or we can rent this site or assign this site to you if you use our services, right? That's what I do. I use these types of sites as a sales tool. Same thing I just mentioned here is I had a sales call with this guy for Honorable Tree Service. And we had a chat and everything, but he wasn't ready to pull the trigger. And I said, well, that's fine. I'm gonna build a site for him anyway, put it on my own domain, and then I'll demonstrate it to him, show it to him once, when it's outranking his own site. And it is in some cases it's not, but I haven't done anything else to this site yet. So to get back to the whole part about hosted images and all of that, I'm testing right now with trying to remove all that stuff. Like, so again, coming back to this site, I'm not going to have any of that, right? Might have a mention within particular cities of like the areas that are targeted within that city, but I'm going to build this site and deploy it on the boxtreecare.com domain and see, does it improve performance? Because here's the other thing. This particular company, Box Tree Care, is an LLG site, which is in high level. And sometime about, I don't know, 2 months ago, something changed or occurred, was Google algorithm update or something, and the organic ranking dropped significantly. Guy's still crushing it in maps, and that's all that matters to this client. Most tree contractors don't really give two shits about organic ranking anyways, because most all the leads come through maps or Google ads or maps. And this particular contractor client of mine is running local service ads. So I'm managing those for him. It's the only client I've ever managed local service ads for. And then also, Google Maps, Google Business SEO. So the organic ranking dropped with the local lead generation site that's built in high level probably about 2 months ago. And I've done a little bit of playing around with it to try to get it to come back, to figure out like why did it drop. And I haven't really been able to figure it out because I haven't spent a lot of time on it because the client's still happy. That's why. Like he doesn't really care. The local service ads and the maps ranking is where he's getting all of his leads from anyway. So he doesn't really care about the organic. But I thought this would be a really good test then to go out and redeploy his site, the exact same structure, with the same internal linking and everything. The only thing different is this one will not have the geo-relevance data, and this will have 3 additional locations as opposed to the previous site. And this is an HTML site versus the high-level sites that have a lot of bloated code, right? A lot of just, a lot of bloat to that code, okay? And so I'm assuming, I don't know yet because I haven't deployed this site, but when I do, and I deploy this onto his domain, I expect to see significant performance gains in organic search from nothing other than just swapping out the site from high level to HTML. 2 or 3 years ago, I used to say, don't use high level sites no matter what. I used to say that because high level sites 3 years ago sucked. It was terrible to rank in search. They were good for like ads and stuff, like if you're running ad traffic to them, paid traffic, but for SEO, they sucked. But then something changed and they started to perform really well. At least with the type of structure that I've been talking about and teaching about for the last several years. And so because of the ease of being up, like the way that they're fairly easy to build, and because we use high level for each of our clients, each of my contractor clients, we always have a sub account set up. I figured it was a lot more efficient for us to just keep their website and everything else as much as possible within high level. And because WordPress, which is what I had used prior to switching fully over to high level websites, WordPress sucks. Like I'm so shitty. I'm so tired of shitty WordPress sites and the stupid updates, and they're hacking. They get hacked all the time if you don't keep them updated. And I'm just tired of WordPress. Every time you log in, you got to update shit. And not only that, but like I don't even know how to work in the new WordPress sites, like with the editors and all that. I don't. Honest to God, I've just launched 2 sites for Tree Care HQ, a podcast site and a marketing blog, in the last like couple of months. And I have no idea how to go in and modify them sites, and I don't want to take the time to learn. And some of you guys might think I'm crazy because I'm in this business. And I don't know how to work on new WordPress sites, but I have no desire to, is my point. So, for example, this is one of them. Anyway, so like this is the marketing blog where I've got one of my team members actually publishing blog posts right now, and you can see one of my other team members does web stuff, and I have him put just kind of a theme on here. I don't even have to go in and edit the damn thing. So what I'm getting at here is, I used to say don't use high level sites at all, and then for the last couple of years I was like don't use WordPress sites at all, use high level. But about 2 months ago, something changed. And I've seen that the high level sites are just not performing as nearly as well as they had been. So I'm expecting to see when I change the Box Tree Care site away from high level to an HTML site that it should perform significantly better. So I've got several of the properties that I can test this on, where I can transfer from high level sites to HTML sites, where I can remove the georelevance data. And then just the nature of changing it from high level to an HTML type of a site, I expect to see them perform better. And if we can omit having to do that georelevance data stuff, that's going to save a hell of a lot of time. So let me just show you last thing real quick, and then we'll get back to comments and questions if there's any left. This is the original site, right? And so these are what I'm talking about. Like these are all hosted images. When we get down here to the locations, these are all Google hosted images. So like if I right click and say open image in new tab, you'll see that's one of those URLs I just talked about, right? There's that AF1, that string for that image ID. And that's that same format that I was just demonstrating over here in the SOP, right? And so that this whole site was built around that kind of that structure because that's what I'd been using and teaching for the last few years. But it's a pain in the ass to get that information. Like, for example, we just go to this here, we have to extract the neighborhood data, we have to get the things to do, top sites, all of that stuff. And all of those are like, copy and paste from Google searches that I would have VAs do, and it would take them 4 hours to build one of these sites. So if we can get away from doing that now, which I don't think it's going to be, I mean, from just the one test that I've got out there right now, it appears like it's not needed anymore because we can still reference these kind of, geo-relevance data points within schema. That's going to be a lot easier than trying to go collect image URLs and all that kind of stuff. And so I've got some more testing to do, but I expect within the next 2 weeks or so, I should have a definitive answer as to whether or not we need to continue doing this. And I do expect to see these HTML type sites perform significantly better, right? If we can cut our build time down from 4 hours to under an hour per site build, that's huge. That's absolutely huge. So anyway, there's a good question. I hope I answered it properly. I don't think we have any other questions. We don't. All right, so I'll look at comments, guys, and we'll wrap up for the day. My screen was paused. Shit. God damn it. How long was that paused for? Probably the whole time. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but this is the original site here is what I was showing. This is the LLG site in high level, and this is the different version of what, not that one. This one here is the one that I'm building with the site builder in HTML. Okay. So it's very similar structure. It's the same structure. The only difference is this one here has 3 additional locations. And again, it's missing the geo-relevance data. But I still haven't added schema to this site. There's a lot of stuff I still got to do to the site builder to get it the way that I want it, but it's a pretty good start, considering I spent probably a total of like maybe 4 hours playing around with the site builder, and I've got kind of an automatic site. Well, to a degree, it's a good starting point. This here that I was talking about, this form here, I can complete this form, and it gives me a JSON file that then I upload to bolt.new, and it gives me all the pages, the menu, navigation menus, the images, everything are all there. And then I've been prompting it within Bolt to just kind of go in and make modifications. That's what I was showing before. This is the original site that it built, and then I would come in and prompt it and say, like for each page should have its own SEO meta title. For service pages, follow this format. Home page is this one. About us is this one. Contact us is this one. So then I just hit enter. Boom. A couple minutes later, it's all done. Then a next one is, add the navigation menu to all pages and freeze it so that it's always visible at the top, because before that would scroll with the page, right? So just going through and kind of prompting it. Once I get it fully done the way that I want, then I'm going to say, okay, I want you to update the JSON LD file template or whatever that we use to create this site so that it has all of that information in that format. And then I'll feed that back in and say, now to a new chat, I'll take that JSON file and I'll feed that back in and say, okay, now create a website form that I can complete with all the details from this JSON file, so that all I need to do and create the form to have all the fields, so that I can just provide the information specifically needed to build the site out with this same sort of a template, internal linking structure, SEO, metadata formatting, etc. Do you see what I'm saying? So once I get that done, that's going to be huge, because I've been selling these or renting these sites for $99 a month anyway, and there is a setup fee, but I usually will waive the setup with $299 setup fee. But I usually waive that if the client, checks out or subscribes or makes the purchase or whatever within a certain time frame. So when we, within 5 days or whatever it is that I agree upon when I'm talking with them, or afterwards when I plug them into the nurture sequence. But it's still, even though I've got VAs that'll do it for me and it doesn't cost me that much to have them build the sites, it's still, kind of tedious and everything else. This will be a lot better. We can be able to deploy these sites in under an hour for a client. So we can get them up and loaded very quickly, and they index, like I showed you, the Zootrix file here or report. This one's actually performing really well with no backlinks. It's 8 days old. I published it, or 7 days old, the 3rd of September. Yeah, it's the 10th now. So it would have been 7 days ago. And it's already, I mean, look at that. The rankings are really good for not having any links and it being a brand new site. No schema on the site, nothing. Okay. And this one is the one that doesn't have images or anything else. So I'm assuming having all those images and things like that will help it to perform better too. Anyway. Okay, we're going to move on to questions and comments, and then we'll wrap up for the day, guys. A little bit early. Zypha says, hey, Bradley, I have a request. I sent you an email via bbenner at Semantic Mastery. It might have landed in spam, but could you check it out after the stream or whenever you get the time? Thanks. I can look. I'll take a look, man. You can open here if you're live, if you have time. All right, let me pause the screen and try to retrieve it. And we'll take a look. I checked the box tree care Leander page and the title is not in the correct format. Maybe that's causing the issue. What do you mean it's not in the right format? I test with different formats just to be clear. I teach one way that I know works, and so this is correct. The only thing is we don't have the location entity or the category in the and this was testing purposes. Remember, I said it dropped in organic ranking, and I've done a few tests to see if I could get it back. I already said that, right? So this was one of the tests. One of the things, the test that I was testing here was, but tree care is synonymous with tree service. Okay, do you understand? Let me point this out. I don't know if I'm going to get to your email or not, Uzaifa, but this is important because I talk about doing single variable tests all the time, right? On Hump Day Hangouts and in the mastermind. This is single variable testing that I'm doing right here. Right? Do you understand that? And I'm going to explain so that you understand what I'm doing. But let's go take a look at tree care Wikipedia. Okay, so we're going to go look at the entity for tree care, right? Remember what I said before, guys, about any bolded text within the Wikipedia page, paragraph text, I mean, it's not subheadings or headings or subheadings. In this case, one of the subheadings is also an entity variant. But in a lot of the cases, that's not, and a lot of times that's not the case. Excuse me. A lot of the times headings and subheadings are not also entity variants. But any bolded text within the paragraph sections of the Wikipedia page are entity variants or synonyms, right? But then you can always click on, and thanks to one of my longtime mastermind members now, Nalin from the UK, he's the one that showed me this, like, I don't know, 2 years ago. It's one of my favorite SEO tips of all time. And that is to look at tools, what links here, hide transclusions and hide links, and then click go. And these are the other entity variants for that official entity name. Right? So these are synonyms that can be used interchangeably with this term to basically mean the same thing. And you can see that tree removal and tree service are all synonyms, or both synonyms for tree care, right? So one of the things that I've been teaching in our mastermind is that you shouldn't duplicate terms within the SEO title. So that's why I was testing with this, was because now if the term is in the brand name, then it's usually okay if you duplicate it as, remember, when I talk about doing the entity association statement or a semantic triple for location pages, I talk about you lead with the brand, then you put the Google business category or a descriptor of the general services as entity number 2. And then entity number 3 is going to be the location, right? And for a location page, it's going to be the specific city or town. If it's a home page, it's going to be for service area business. It would be the region, the location entity that is a region that is all inclusive of the areas that they claim are within their service area, right? So, but in the case of this, like box tree care, and that's why I was testing a single variable test, was to determine if that was what was causing a problem. Because again, guys, what was working yesterday might not work today because Google made a change, right? Something could change in the algorithm, and what had been working for days or weeks or months or years all of a sudden stops working. And so if we had entity association statements, this is who we are, this is what we do, this is where we do it. So we had Box Tree Care as a tree service company serving Leander, Texas, or located in Leander, Texas. Those are the 3 entities that we were referencing. But if it's a duplication, if tree care is synonymous with tree service, and then that's can be considered a duplication. I understand the brand name had tree care in it, so that's usually a separate entity. But I was testing to see if having those 2 terms in the SEO title together was one of the reasons why we saw a drop in organic ranking. Do you understand? So that was a test. That's all that was. So if you look at some of the other pages still have it, right? You understand? Like this one here still has it. But the Leander page, which is where they're physically located, I wanted to remove it as a test. All right, hopefully that's clear. Okay, let me get back over to email and see if I can locate that while we still have a few minutes. Okay, let me zoom in on this and we'll pull it up. I found it. All right. Recently, I've been shifting my focus from SEO to copywriting, which, by the way, Huzaif, just to be clear, um, since you prompted me to pull this open on the Hump Day Hangout, I'll do it. But we offer Q&A on Hump Day Hangouts, and I offer Q&A for mastermind members in the mastermind. I'm not going to be doing free Q&A and consulting via email to non-paid members. Okay. Sorry, I don't have the time for that. I'm not picking on you, man. I appreciate you reaching out and all of that. But please understand, we have paying members of our communities that can ask me questions. That's part of the reason that they're paying to be a member of the community. Hump Day Hangouts is a free service and venue that we offer just to answer questions to the audience and local marketing, local SEO. I cannot be expected to answer questions from people randomly that send me emails because I'd never get any work done. Okay, just to be clear. So I'll answer it this time because you prompted me to read it on the Hump Day Hangout. But outside of Hump Day Hangouts or the Mastermind, if you send me an email like this, it's likely not going to get responded to. Just to be clear. Okay. So Bradley Uzaifa here from Hump Day Hangouts. Recently, I've been shifting my focus from SEO to copywriting, which is why I've been missing from action for a while. That's also why I'm selling my lead gen brand and directory website. Yes. And long story short, I've written some spec pieces for Semantic Mastery and I appreciate if you check them out. Sales page for local ops. Okay. Is that what you were sending me to read right now with the rest of the group? That doesn't seem proper. So I appreciate that. I'll read it when I'm done with today's call and I'll come back and I'll reply to you. Okay. I'm not going to do that live on the call though. So, all right, let me see if we got any other comments or questions, guys, and then we'll wrap up for the day. Yep. Okay. I think we're good. So, okay, guys. Well, I appreciate you all being here. We will wrap up for the day a little bit early, which is rare, and we'll see everybody next week. We do have a mastermind webinar tomorrow, so I'll see some of you guys over there tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.